So at this time, I'm going to turn it over to our Assistant Commissioner.
Thank you, Holly. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Steve Plale. I have the pleasure of serving as Assistant Commissioner for the Division of Workforce Services at the Tennessee Department of Labor and Workforce Development. And I'm so excited that you're joining us this afternoon and this week, National Apprenticeship Week, and our Apprenticeship TN office hosting this hospitality session, talking about apprenticeship. Apprenticeship is just an unbelievable pathway for individuals to gain needed skills, knowledge, and then be able to enter the workforce. Some recent statistics here in Tennessee, 95% of our apprentices who go through an apprenticeship program gain employment in Tennessee and retain employment. That is a pathway for individuals who may not have had any other options to get into a family sustaining wage and livelihood. We've got a lot of information to cover today. We've got a lot of information to share with you about apprentices and apprenticeships, apprenticeship programs, everything from pre-apprenticeships to registered apprenticeships. Again, all in celebration of National Apprenticeship Week here in Tennessee. We've got some great guests who are going to talk about how apprenticeship has impacted their business, their university or college, and the work that is happening around this great state. One last piece of information that I want to share, and I'm so excited about this. Tennessee, I'm proud to share with you this afternoon that Tennessee has the most apprentices we've ever had as a state. Over 7,300 individuals in this great state are currently in a registered apprenticeship program and will be entering the workforce, are currently part of the workforce, will be entering the workforce in full employment here in the coming years. We are so excited and so thankful for that. We're so thankful for Governor Lee and his support of apprenticeship programs and of Apprenticeship TN. And I'm thankful for our staff who have worked to put on this conference. So again, welcome. We look forward to hearing more information. Please ask questions in the chat box. And we look forward to talking with you, working with you. If you are not currently established as or have an apprenticeship program or an apprentice, we look forward to working with you. And if you are, we look forward to our continued partnership. With that, thank you so much again for joining us. Charlene, I'm going to turn it back to you.
Thank you, Steve. My name is Charlene Russell, and I am the Middle Tennessee Apprenticeship Director. I serve the 40 counties that make up the Grand Region of Middle Tennessee, including the Upper Cumberland, Northern Middle, and Southern Middle. And I'm here today with my colleague, Shalandria Shaw, our West Tennessee Director.
Thank you, Charlene. I am Shalandria Shaw, the West Region Director for Apprenticeship Tennessee. I serve the 21 counties, including the Southwest, Northwest, and Greater Memphis areas. Charlene and I are going to speak more about registered apprenticeships. In 2019, the Office of Apprenticeship greater awareness of apprenticeship opportunities for employers and wage earners in every area of Tennessee. Needless to say, our office is governed by Governor Bill Lee and powered by the Tennessee Workforce Development System. Each agency listed has an official lead representative assigned to collaborate with the Office of Apprenticeship. Additionally, Tennessee's DOL is internally developing RAPs for certain occupations to create their own workforce pipeline. So registered apprenticeship programs will benefit Tennessee's very own workforce system. The apprenticeship team is very proud to say that we currently have over 7,300 registered apprenticeships, reaching over 30% growth since 2019. What do we do? We serve employers in the form of outreach. That is what we do daily, consulting with employers on program framework, developing enrollment on documents to submit to USDOL on behalf of the employer, working with USDOL on behalf of the employer, and providing technical assistance to program sponsors/employers. We also seek to connect employers to high quality and skilled workforce pipelines and training resources. What is a registered apprenticeship? Well, we know that apprentices date back to the Middle Ages. Today, they are flexible and proven talent development strategies that can help grow talent pipelines at your company. Today, it is a structural national program for training and employment. There are 5 central components of an apprenticeship. We must have employer engagement. There is OJL, structured on-the-job learning, related technical instruction, or what we call RTI. And of course, those apprentices are rewarded for those skill gains with a wage progression, and they finish with a national occupational credential. And this is what that certificate of completion of the apprentice looks like. When we speak of the on-the-job learning and related technical instruction, the OJL must be a minimum of 2,000 hours. We can have a maximum of 8,000 hours. Just for example, that 2,000-hour OJL, we must have 144 hours or more of related technical instruction, and that is an equivalent of 1 year. Each of our registered apprenticeship programs must have a sponsor, employer, training provider. That sponsor registers the apprentices in our online system, Rapids 2.0. That sponsor also is responsible for the documents for the OJL and RTI hours. The employer, of course, hires the apprentice, pays the apprentice according to that structured wage progression scale. The employer provides required on-the-job learning and, of course, assumes the cost of the training. The training provider provides the required RTI. An employer may assume all 3 responsibilities for a registered apprenticeship program. I am going to now popcorn it over to my partner, Charlene, and she's going to speak more about RAPs.
Thank you, Shalandria. As Shalandria mentioned, a registered apprenticeship program involves a sponsor, an employer partner, and a training provider. So a registered apprenticeship program is really meant to be a full-time, long-term employment training program. Unlike an internship, some internships, those have a fixed time when they start and they come to an end, maybe for a semester or a summer. A registered apprenticeship program is meant to train a lifelong employee for that company. A youth apprenticeship is a registered apprenticeship program that involves 16 and 17-year-olds. So it is still a registered apprenticeship program, and those youth may be employed part-time. If they are employed part-time, then it may take them longer to complete those on-the-job learning hours. So where full-time employment, 2,000 hours, is around 1 year, that may be 18 months to 2 years for someone who's working part-time. Shalandria also mentioned that as the employer partner of a registered apprenticeship program, the company assumes the cost of the training, meaning that this is an opportunity for apprentices to receive training without debt. Our office works very hard to create talent pipelines through partnerships, and we do that in the pre-apprenticeship space. So a pre-apprenticeship can be the education with or without the job requirement. We partner with colleges and high schools, corrections facilities, third-party nonprofit organizations to create a space where apprentices can gain the skills necessary to be able to complete a registered apprenticeship program successfully. So what that entails is a memorandum of understanding from the employer and an application from the pre-apprenticeship provider. That memorandum of understanding outlines exactly what that employer is looking for in an apprentice, and then that pre-apprenticeship application from the provider outlines what they can offer. So if a pre-apprenticeship provider, if they are able to provide some of the related instruction, or maybe that apprentice is able to work part-time and get some entry level on the job learning skills, what will happen is that pre-apprenticeship provider will reach out to that employer and say, look, I have X number of pre-apprentices that have completed this program. Would you like to interview them? So in that pre-apprenticeship space, that cost could be on the individual, and that can save the employer some money. What will happen is for those pre-apprentices who complete those programs, the employer then agrees to grant them an interview. They are not obligated to hire them, but they can interview them. If the pre-apprentice is then hired, then the registered apprenticeship sponsor could grant them credit toward the related technical instruction or the on-the-job learning that they have earned in that pre-apprenticeship space. So benefits to employers. You can see here that by creating a reliable pipeline of employers are going to get higher productivity because now they have a highly skilled workforce. And our goal is to help you reduce your turnover cost and create a safe workplace, and definitely enhance your employee retention. So nationwide, the U.S. Department of Labor reports that for every dollar spent on a registered apprenticeship program, there's an ROI of $1.47. Next, I'd like to talk a little bit about some myths about apprenticeship programs. Some of the most common myths that we address here in our office is that registered apprenticeship programs are only for unions or large employers, and that's simply not true. I've worked with several companies, small companies, who have registered apprenticeship programs to grow their talent. So it really is for any company, whether small or large, union or non-union. A lot of industries also feel that apprenticeships have a space in the construction trades or maybe in the culinary trades, but not necessarily in the hospitality and hotels. I've heard that recently, and so I just want to really underscore that there really are more than 1,000 approved apprenticeship occupations that have been approved by the USDOL. We have worked very hard to register apprenticeship programs in the culinary industry, also in the healthcare industry, in the IT industry. So we'll be sharing that link with you in the chat later on, where you can explore those occupations that have been approved for registered apprenticeship programs. Next, you may hear that registered apprenticeship programs are for non-college bound individuals, and really apprenticeship is a model that can combine that on-the-job learning with the classroom, whether that be in the college setting or in the technical education setting, or it could be classroom instruction that is provided by the employer privately. And then finally, one of the myths that we address quite frequently is that the federal government is going to come in and micromanage my workforce and tell me who I can and cannot hire. And that's simply not true. So the Office of Apprenticeship, we work with you to set a training framework. And the program is designed and managed by the sponsor and employer partners of that program. As an employer, you decide who you hire and fire and how much you pay them. We would like to invite you to follow us on Facebook and LinkedIn, and definitely spend some time on our website exploring. There's a lot of information there, including programs that we have registered across the state and the state certified pre-apprenticeships that lead into those programs. I would also like to share with you our local business service team contact information. These are the people who you can contact for support services and potential funding opportunities to help offset those costs of those training programs. And finally, I would like to leave you with our contact information. Please feel free to reach out to any of us. We're happy to talk to you and help you build out your registered apprenticeship program. Thank you so much for your time today. I'm going to turn it back over to Holly, and she is going to facilitate our panel discussion.
Thank you, Charlene and Shalandria. So now we're going to enter into our industry panel discussion, and I'm going to take the time to introduce each one of our panelists by their region, their job title, their employer, and also the occupations they currently have registered for the apprenticeship program. So I'm going to start with first in our West region, Dr. Karen Boyer. She's the president of Dyersburg State Community College and currently has and sponsors several of the programs I'm mentioning. Is going to be agricultural service worker, vineyard foreman, tasting room associate, cellar worker, vineyard winery production technician. One of her partners that she has assisted with these programs are in the West, Dawn Fowler, who is an owner of the Crown Winery. And of course, she is in partnership with all of those I just mentioned on those occupations for registered apprenticeship. Next, we have in middle, Paul Jensen, chef and owner of Limelight Hospitality. And he has cook and hotel restaurant occupations. As well as our intermediary today, statewide, is Dr. Edward Walden. He is the Director in Pet Professional Advancement for the National Restaurant Association Educational Foundation. Thank you all for joining us. So I'm going to begin by asking a few questions. I will highlight each one of you as I ask the question so everyone knows. And please, if you have further statements and comments, please add. So we're going to start off first with Paul and Dawn. These are for you. How has the Registered Apprenticeship Program benefited your company? So Paul, if you'll start us off and then Dawn can follow.
Sure. Well, what I know lots of people in the world are talking about is how challenging it is to find talented, motivated restaurant employees, cooks specifically. And so the apprenticeship program, the Registered Apprenticeship Program, has certainly taken us and separated what we do at our restaurant and our other facilities versus what other restaurants may be. What I found is that many people are not just looking for a job and a paycheck, they're looking for a future. And I believe that the registered apprenticeship gives the potential employee, the potential apprentice, that view of what their future might look like. As a graduate of an apprenticeship program, I'm a prime example of being a part of apprenticeship program as a student and as an apprentice, and moving through my career to where we are now.
Thank you so much, Paul. Dawn?
Well, let's see. Having registered apprentices here has been a huge blessing to us. First and foremost, being a winery, we're not just a winery, but we're also an event venue. We deal with tourism. We deal with a lot of things, production, vineyard management. There's a lot of different businesses within the business, and finding experienced people to be able to help us, to be able to know kind of what to do is a challenge. And so having the apprenticeship program is investing in our employees. And so that shows trust in us that they do, are picking a career or picking a path that we see them working with us long term, that we want to invest in their knowledge and what they can do to grow with us and to be able to work for us, for a long future. It's not just something they're just popping in and learning a few things and they're moving on to another job. I think that it's showing them that they can have a career with us, and we want to invest in that for our employees. So having them being able to learn while they're on the job has been perfect, because as we all know, when you're working full time, who has time to learn and go to school on the off time? And so having their classes in the evenings and being able then to do their on the job learning during the day has been a perfect balance for them to be able to both get an education in their field that they're in, and also be employed with us and help us with their knowledge that they learn in the evenings while they're here. So it's been great.
Thank you, Dawn. Dr. Walden, this is for you next. How do apprenticeship programs benefit employers within the hospitality industry?
Well, thank you very much for inviting me to be a part of this and being able to answer these questions. Apprenticeship is, in my opinion, is a great way to be able to standardize the training that is happening across the state and across the nation. The apprenticeship program that we developed actually was put together by industry experts that identified what is essential in order for somebody to be a restaurant manager, or what is essential for somebody to be a line cook. And we didn't really go out and just look at one subset of the industry. We actually took a look at, all right, what was necessary for any subset. So if you're in fine dining, or if you're in fast food, or a pizza buffet, or you're working at a university and there's a dining facility that is there, what was essential? And so we took all of this opinion and this industry expert input and identified all the competencies that the industry agrees that is essential. So then part of this apprenticeship program, you as an employer will have an understanding that these individuals are being trained on the tasks that are necessary to be successful. Now, what's great about apprenticeship programs as well is that they're living documents. We want to make sure that we're meeting your needs. So for our program, it's we want to make sure at least 80% is getting done. We prefer to be pushing to 100%. And so we work together to make sure that you have the resources and the ability to be able to teach all the competencies and the related training instruction.
Thank you. This next question is going to be for Paul, Dawn, and Dr. Boyer. I would also like your point of view on how you can assist in this avenue, because I know you have successfully. So the question is, what are the primary challenges you faced in implementing or operating your apprenticeship program, and how did you overcome those challenges? So Dawn, if you'll start us off, and then Paul, and then Dr. Boyer, if you could help them and how you've helped solve these problems for Dawn, for example, and in other arenas as well.
Well, I guess challenges, just learning about it. I didn't have something to attend like this online conference to really learn what apprenticeships were, or how to get started in it, or anything like that from the get-go. So Dr. Boyer from Dyersburg State was a huge help, and her staff in just trying to help me figure out the processes of just getting everything going, all of the paperwork, the coursework, all that kind of stuff. Just, even learning the terms of like related, technical instruction, RTI, all that kind of stuff. I was like, what does that mean? So just, it can seem overwhelming, I guess. It seemed at first when I don't have history personally in registered apprenticeship. So that was like a huge obstacle, was the beginning, just figuring out what everything meant. But the great thing is there are excellent resources out there. So it was just a text or a phone call away to figure it all out, several meetings with people just to kind of learn about it and see what was a good fit. And so that was probably the biggest obstacle. Once we got all of that figured out, it's really been super smooth. So, just kind of also educating, I guess, the employees, they're like, what is this? And what is this? How is this going to help me? So that was probably the biggest obstacles we had.
Primary challenges implementing the apprenticeship program were how cumbersome it seemed for the paperwork and the process. So how to get the protocols for the on-the-job training, as well as the required knowledge training. Charlene, who I see is standing next to you. Say hi to me, Charlene.
She said, "Hey, Paul."
All right. She was actually the #1 resource for me overcoming some of those hurdles with implementing the apprenticeship at our restaurants. Helped guide me through the process and took a lot of that pressure and just navigating through the portals and the ways to get the proper paperwork filed. From there, it was partnering with someone like Dr. Walden with the Restaurant Association, or on my side, I've partnered with the American Culinary Federation that has all the on-the-job training resources spelled out and structured with a calendar. So once that was done, then the easy part came for me, which was finding the apprentices and then being able to train them and share some of my experience and my knowledge with them to help better their futures. So I really, am very thankful for the work that the Tennessee Department of Labor and Workforce Development has done to help get our apprenticeship up and going.
Thank you, Paul. Dr. Boyer?
Yes, I think, Don, we first maybe met at an advisory committee meeting we had really at Bill Sanderson's place with White Squirrel Winery. And Bill was our state representative for a number of years for Dyer County and other counties here in West Tennessee. And he really had the vision, and we all, wanted to promote tourism in rural Northwest Tennessee and saw the wine industry as one way to do it. And in our agriculture program at the college, we were focusing a part of it on specialty crops like grapes. And so talking with these wine vineyard owners and wineries, and Dawn was in the group, we talked about how we could kind of get a pipeline of workers. And we partnered on a specialty crop grant of growing a vineyard at Halls High School. So we're thinking about these high school kids, to encourage them to go on and get some training in agriculture, particularly in growing grapes and taking care of vineyards. So all of that led to also Bill Sanderson taking us to Missouri, to Hermann, Missouri, to see the wine industry and how that's impacted tourism in that part. It's Hermann is about halfway between St. Louis and Columbia, Missouri. So anyway, had a tremendous amount of tourism going on in that particular area, and it was all because of the vineyards and the wineries. So Dawn said, she was interested. Of course, Crown was growing and needing workers, and she had people. And of course, we've worked with our local Northwest Tennessee Workforce Board with Jennifer Bain and Ginger Powell. So they were readily available. We were working with Nathan Garrett and Carol Perrier with the Board of Regents, with their work with apprenticeship. So all these partners came together, and really, again, because of our work in Missouri, we met the people from VESTA, which is the Viticulture and Enology Science and Technology Alliance, which, part of it's based there at Missouri State University, and they provide all this great training that now Dawn's vineyard, is it vineyard foreman or whatever the name for the apprenticeships, and then our tasting room associate, they both are involved in that RTI, which is coming from Missouri State University. But we are the intermediary that's set it all up, and we track the hours of Dawn's apprentices. And, like Dawn says, it's working very well. And it's just, taking advantage of all the partners that are here willing to help and to grow the apprenticeship program in Tennessee.
Thank you, Dr. Boyer. Next question is for Dr. Walden. What are the primary challenges sponsors and employers face in implementing and operating apprenticeship programs within the hospitality industry? And how would you help them overcome those challenges?
Part of the biggest challenges that individuals have been identifying to us have been the lack of quality employees that are available to be hired to be able to start an apprenticeship program. And so our industry is hurting, and everybody realizes that, and the National Restaurant Association and us at the Educational Foundation realize that. And part of what we're trying to do is we're establishing these apprenticeship programs to be able to show a career pathway that individuals can take in order for them to want to join an organization that they can see future growth in. And so these training products that we have, these apprenticeship programs, is a way for employers to come and show that not only will you receive quality training, and it's structured and it is registered with the Department of Labor and it is approved by the National Restaurant Association, but you can come in and start off as a line cook, and then the next step is you may be able to then become a kitchen manager and then a restaurant manager, and then you can start looking at your own franchise. And it is being able to provide this knowledge and this information that it's just not an entry-level position that you're going to come into and then you're done. This is a career. And as an industry association as a whole, we wanted to make sure that we can show the benefits of working in the hospitality industry as a whole. Now, we have this on the National Restaurant Association side, and our friends over at the American Hotel and Lodging Association, they're working with it as well. They have a lodging manager apprenticeship program, and they're going to be working on other occupations. And that's our continued focus, is in making sure that we have a structured program for individuals to be able to be a part of in order for them to be able to see their career growth.
Thank you very much. Next question is really for Paul and for Dawn, but then I'm going to ask for Dr. Boyer and Dr. Walden to also step in and help solve this one for us. So what was the cost that were associated with your RAPS program for your company, and who paid the cost?
I can go. So as far as the cost, it was minimal for me. It was I think in the neighborhood of $400 or $500 was where I was at per apprentice to get things started. But when I think and I actually go down to the books and look at I think someone mentioned the return on investment. It tenfold. That I think that return on investment figure was very underestimated or calculated, because that $400 or $500 we have made that back 10 times since starting the apprenticeship program about 2 years ago, and it's been amazing at the what Dr. Walden mentioned was finding qualified people to fill these positions. The fact that we had an apprenticeship program started to attract more and more people that were motivated and had the right attitude and had the desire to grow. And so since starting the apprenticeship program, not only have those apprentices benefited our restaurants, but it has also benefited the community. And now the community are applying to our restaurants in droves, in all different positions. So it's really built more of a reputation of, and I think that's part of the challenges with many employers is they think of sometimes people in positions, maybe entry-level positions, as kind of disposable or passable or passive. They're just kind of along for the ride for a short amount of time. But what this has done is really given us somebody that's made a commitment to better themselves, and it has certainly allowed me to focus on helping them better themselves and make a better future for them.
Thank you. Dawn, would you like to add?
Yes. Let's see. What was the original question?
What was your cost?
Add on what Paul was just saying, but the cost was a part. Okay. Yes.
Yeah, your cost.
Sorry. It's been a day. So the cost, yes. For us here at the winery, we've honestly not paid a penny, which has been a massive blessing. due to, applying through, we work with the, I think as Dr. Boyer said, the Northwest Tennessee Workforce Board has helped us. Both of our apprentices were also on the job training, had gone through that as well. So I think that they were eligible for some extra funding maybe, or something through that. I can't remember. It's been a little bit since we started all that, but there was some resources in multiple places out there that we've been able to secure to be able to not have to pay anything for the two that we have right now. I know that may not always be the case, but that's been a blessing. Down to every bit of their books, just everything has been covered 100%, which is fantastic. And to echo what Paul said, the return on investment has been huge. If I had paid, it would be so worth it, just because, for example, Ben is our vineyard manager, and he came to us just graduating college with a political science degree. And so, but he really kind of was not figuring out a job in that area that he wanted, that worked with his location. And so he came to us and really wanted to do something out in the vineyard, and he had no experience in it. So this is a way that he is learning while he's on the job. And one of his classes he's been taking, like winter pruning of the vineyard. So that's something he's doing anyway. And so he's learning while he's doing it, and he's taking classes from professors in California and in New York and other places that are actually teaching him how to do this. And this year, he was very, very specific about his pruning and how we pruned the vines this winter, and more particular than my husband and I probably would have been. And he was like, no, this is what they're telling me. This is what we need to do. And this year we got our very best harvest than we've ever had, the most grapes. And so we are seeing his knowledge that he's learning. We're learning from him. I'm almost jealous. I wish I was taking these classes. So we're learning from him as well. And it is definitely helping our business. And the same with Kaylee doing tasting room manager, that some of the things she's learning now, she's in a class on sanitation, which you wouldn't think would apply to tasting room management, but it really, she's learning about how that can affect the quality of your wine, and how you would taste different things in your wines in the tasting room that could be a result of a sanitation issue in the winemaking process, and pass that on to our customers. And it's all things like that that are just really, you just can't put a price tag on the knowledge of what they're learning. I couldn't hire someone just coming in and applying and putting an application that would know these things. And so it's been definitely, I say worth every penny. I know I didn't pay anything, but worth the money that I would have had to pay, or that is being funded for us.
Thank you, Dawn. Dr. Boyer, would you like to add anything?
I think what we've heard from Dawn, the zero cost, I think a lot of it was just our partnership with Northwest Tennessee Workforce Board, with Jennifer Bain and with Ginger Powell, and then Malia Evans. I think Dawn was the one that really tracks, our apprentices. And then, of course, we report all the hours that they work. So I think just all of that, we all have partners around us. So just it all came together and worked together for Crown Winery. So it's been great.
Thank you. Dr. Walden, from your standpoint.
Well, I have a bit of a different perspective. I really do. And what we have, since we're not an employer, as a intermediary with the Department of Labor, we actually don't charge money. We give money away. We just, it's like you get $1,000 and you get $1,000, and we actually do. We provide up to $1,000 per apprentice to be able to help pay for training. Now, that could be the related training instruction that they need to be able to take at a local community college, or in order for them to be able to enhance some of the classes that they need to be able to take online. Or it could go towards, you have an internal training program that you have that's specific to your needs, and you need to develop the right curriculum, or you need to enhance your curriculum. It actually, if we worked out the deals properly, it could go towards some of the equipment that's necessary in order for you to continue to train apprentices. So we have a 4-year contract with the Department of Labor. We like to give money away. And so, not trying to sound like that guy you watched at midnight on Saturday night, but if you need money, call me, and we'll be able to work something out.
Thank you so much.
Uh-huh.
So we're going to ask our last question. I know the chat's not been active, but it is open. If anyone has questions, we have folks monitoring the chat that can answer those questions for you. So our last question, I'm going to start with Paul. It's the same question for all our panelists. What is your best piece of advice for another sponsor or employer who would be considering to do an apprenticeship program?
I think the best piece of advice is very simple: is just do it. You know, everybody is struggling to find qualified candidates to fill skilled roles, and what I found is even when I hire somebody who has been trained and learned knowledge from somewhere else, I still have to train them to do things either the right way or the way that we do them. And so the best way to combat that is to simply train them yourselves. So I think my simplest piece of advice is if you're thinking that it could benefit you, just do it. It can benefit you. And I learned that there are plenty of resources out there, deans and things from community colleges, and Charlene and the folks on the staff with the state, the American Culinary Federation, the Restaurant Association, the Hotel and Lodging. I mean, there are so many resources out there, and I think just to sit back and say, "I wish I could do this," is not taking the proper action. So if you're thinking about it, just take the next step to get there, and there's plenty of people that are going to help you achieve that goal.
Thank you, Paul. Dawn?
Gosh, I think my advice would be, basically not to be, I guess, intimidated by the startup process. Not to look at it and think, oh gosh, I've got to fill out all these forms and do all these meetings, and I don't have time as an owner or as a employer or anything to take the time to do it, because it's not as time consuming as you would think. At first I was a little hesitant, I guess, because I felt like I didn't have the time to take the next step. And then I just did it, and I was like, why was I hesitant about this? So just as Paul said, to take the next step. If you've got any inclination to start doing something like this, just go for it. I don't think that you'd be disappointed, and it really, really is very beneficial. So that would be my advice.
Thank you, Dawn. So, Dr. Walden, can you help out on that question as well?
Well, absolutely. I mean, from my perspective, we're looking at some of the biggest challenges that an industry employer faces is, yes, hiring, but then retaining quality workers. And what we have seen is that if an employer invests in their individuals, and you're investing in many different ways, but through an apprenticeship program, you're sending the message to that employee that you care about them and about their future. And you're providing them the training and the knowledge that they need to be successful. And you're doing so in such a way where you're showing that you want to be able to provide them a stable pathway to be able to follow. And that's going to turn into a loyal employee. That's going to turn into an individual that really, truly wants to grow within your organization or grow within the industry. And that's what you're looking at, is to be able to find those individuals. These apprenticeship programs are not just for individuals that are in the current position. If you want to train somebody to move into a management position, build your bench. Pick out those individuals that you see as future leaders. They're demonstrating those capabilities now. Go ahead and get them through the apprenticeship program. And then once they're trained and qualified and a position opens up, you're ready to go. You're ready to move that person up because they've gone through it. And they've seen that you care enough about them to, in a sense, prepare them for what's next. There's a lot of great programs that are out there. There's a lot of, and I don't want to harp on it, but the reality is that the climate, the industry that is out there, is that there's money there to assist you. And that's usually an obstacle for people. not exactly sure. I don't know if we can afford this. Well, actually, no, it's just like when applying for scholarships to go to college. Some people just don't realize what money they're leaving on the table. So work with your Department of Labor, your workforce boards, with your industry associations. We're going to be able to help you help yourself. It's like Jerry Maguire, help me, help you. So it should be there for you.
Thank you, Dr. Walden. So, Dr. Boyer, I'd like for you to follow up with the advice you would give, but then also Tyra has asked you a question. So if you don't mind, just a little bit of advice too, and then we'll answer Tyra's question specifically.
Okay. Yeah. Well, my advice is really talk to your local community college or Tennessee College of Applied Technology. Our main mission is to provide the workforce for our communities. And, if we need restaurant workers and we need to get on board and try to help with that, or in this case, it was people working in wineries that we have approached, but we're also working in all kinds of areas, manufacturing and other areas, but we don't have the apprenticeships in place yet. We all have workforce boards really close to us, like Ed was saying. They're all about trying to provide the workforce, obviously. And all of our colleges have advisory committees. That's where I found Dawn. I think I just invited her to a meeting. She showed up and we started talking about workforce needs and really just, as I mentioned earlier, the partnership, the work we do with our local workforce board and the money that's available there. But advice is, take advantage of there's 40 of us, 40 colleges across Tennessee. There are 13 community colleges, 27 TCATs, we call them, Tennessee Colleges of Applied Technology. And we're all here to do whatever we can to help grow the workforce and develop it.
Thank you, Dr. Boyer. And Tyra's question was just, how do we encourage our fellow colleges to get involved in an apprenticeship program to be a sponsor?
Yeah, well, I think, as I mentioned earlier, one of our vice chancellors, Carol Perrier, and she's worked a lot with Nathan Garrett, who's one of the TCAT presidents now, but Nathan's available. So we got all kinds of expertise through the Tennessee Board of Regents. I think we're all focused on trying to get apprenticeships started. And like you said earlier, some of those myths are still out there. But we're all, and we all have advisory committees. So my advice is, to use those advisory committees, and they're all made up of employers, try to find places where we can get apprenticeships started. And our desperate need for the workforce now, I think everybody's tuned in to trying to find a way to make it work. So.
And thank you. And I will conclude this too by saying, please reach out to us. Reach out to the apprenticeship team. We are here. We are in each region. We're here to help. So if you have questions and you can't get a hold of one, please reach out to any of us. And I'll ask Charlene or Shalandria to drop our contact back in the chat box, so you'll have it right there for you and available. And then I think we had one more question, and then I'm going to turn it over to Tyra Copas, who is our assistant administrator.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody, for what an amazing panel group. So I appreciate each and every one of you. And Dr. Boyer, thanks for answering my question. I've said this to you before, and I just kind of want to say it publicly. You are an inspiration when it comes to trying to figure out how apprenticeship programs can work. So, figuring out what is that need, that workforce need in the community, and then working with your team at the college system to figure out where to find that training, whether you deliver it yourselves or you're working with a partnership to get that training delivered to those employers. So I just really appreciate your innovative attitude, foresight, and just really willing to just go down the road of exploration. And, for Dawn and Paul, thank you. Truly thank you for being our first hospitality apprenticeship programs in Tennessee and taking this journey with us. And I'm so glad to hear that these programs are working well for you. If anything, the hospitality industry has had more than its fair share of hard knocks over the last 2 years. And so hearing you talk about how these apprenticeship programs are helping with that recruiting strategy I think is really meaningful when we look at how do we build back the hospitality workforce in Tennessee, and what is that going to take, and what does that look like? You know, I've said all along, apprenticeship programs are a way to both recruit and retain, and without even any coaching. I think both of you have said very similar things. So glad I'm still on the right mindset with the employers there. So I just want to take a minute to just kind of recap the apprenticeship journey. So I have had the honor to be part of the Tennessee Apprenticeship Program and the apprenticeship journey for the past 2 years. And in July of 2019, the state recognized the impact registered apprenticeship programs make in Tennessee when it comes to developing high quality and a skilled workforce. So following that vision, the Apprenticeship Office was established to help Tennessee employers set up new programs, support our existing programs, our existing sponsors already in place. And we've had some programs that have been established in the 1940s. So those are long-running apprenticeship programs. Since 2019, the Apprenticeship Office in Tennessee has hit multiple all-time high numbers, specifically around the new programs being developed, the number of individuals completing those programs, and now, as you heard earlier, when we kicked off this conference, we are over 7,300 apprentices in Tennessee. That is a representation of 33% growth since 2009. That kind of shows you what impact apprentice programs are making, or apprenticeship programs are making in Tennessee. When I think about apprenticeship programs, I think of really 3 areas where they really make an impact. The first is it's all about the individual. So apprenticeship programs, they offer that high quality career pathway where an individual gains that work experience under the direction of a mentor. And we've all had opportunities in jobs where we have started our job. We have a few minutes of orientation, and then you're off to deliver the job. And apprenticeship programs go beyond that. They give that individual someone to coach and mentor them throughout the program, someone to help guide them. Are they doing it right? Is there a better way to do that? And so it's the ability to come up to speed and come up to speed faster. That's what you get when you establish that mentorship. They also receive the applicable education. And I love the fact that Dawn was talking about they're learning it in class and then being able to implement it directly in the workforce. That is what an apprenticeship program is all about. And when we set those apprenticeship programs up, we do try to set up when that education is being offered in relationship to the job that they're performing, so that they get the education component at the same time or right before they're expected to deliver in that skill in that job. In addition, outside of any credential or education degree that they may earn through their education, they're also going to have that nationally recognized and portable credential throughout the U.S. Most importantly to me, when I think about that individual, it's a means to secure financial freedom for an individual. They know coming into an apprenticeship program exactly what they need to do and what the wages will be as they learn new skills, what that means from a pay standpoint. And that leads to higher paying wages for that individual. That helps not only get the individual keeping them motivated throughout the apprenticeship program, but having them earn those higher wages coming out of the apprenticeship program, meaning they're going to stay with that company longer. And they do all this without any debt. And so I love the fact how Paul and Dawn talked about the cost from an employer standpoint and making sure that we, as state agencies, are helping employers partner them with programs that's going to help offset that cost for them. The second piece is the employer piece. So, employers, they have a significant amount invested not only financially, but as from their workforce as well. So apprenticeship programs allow that employer to influence the training that they are needed specific to their workforce. That is what an apprenticeship program is all about. We've heard from, employers all the time saying, I want them to have a specific course. This is how we can help and partner them with colleges to get that specific course when it's applicable to the work that they're going to be doing. In addition, all of that training, all of the apprenticeship program, that's going to result in that higher retention. So putting that investment up front, keeping those employees long term is a huge advantage for employers. And then the last piece I really think about when I think about apprenticeship programs is the impact it makes on our communities, especially our rural communities. So the apprenticeship model provides the best implementation of a public-private partnership. You heard all of these panelists talk about the partnerships, engaging with our local workforce board, our college systems, the employer. Partnerships are key when it comes to making apprenticeship programs work. And these partnerships improve our workforce. It supports our local employers. And most importantly, it changes the economic trajectory of the households. So now we've heard from some great panelists. What do you do next? I would say my charge to all of you on this call today is get connected. You've got a plethora of resources here to connect you to apprenticeship programs. So whether that's connecting through the apprenticeship office and the directors, our college systems are great partners for us. So making sure that you're looping in with your community colleges and your TCATs for any opportunities that you may have, any occupation. Our directors, our apprenticeship directors, will help those colleges figure out if that occupation is apprenticeable. In the hospitality space, there's pretty much every occupation you can think of as an apprenticeable occupation. And I know many of you, when you heard the wine tasting one, you're all ready to get in line for the wine tasting apprenticeship program. So that's going to be my retirement job as well. I'm going to be signing up for that one. We heard from Dr. Walden. Our intermediaries are a great way to connect, and they have money. So let's help them spend their money in Tennessee. We want all of those intermediaries to spend money in Tennessee and not spend them in other states. They can spend them in other states, but we want to have first choice of that money. So don't let the cost be a hesitation for you. Let's talk about the program. Let's figure out how to build the program, and then we will work with partners like Dr. Walden's organization to figure out what kind of funding is available. The other great partner for you, and especially when it comes to funding, is your local workforce board. So, I loved how Dawn talked about their engagement with their local workforce board really helped them establish that program. And so making sure that we're working with our local workforce boards and our local American job centers, as well as your regional directors in your area. Any of those opportunities can help you get connected to apprenticeship programs. So my final comments, the success Tennessee is having in apprenticeship is largely in part to the dedication and diligence of the Apprenticeship TN team, but it's also all of our partnerships. And these partnerships include our Tennessee Board of Regents, colleges, community colleges, and TCATs, our Adult Education Department, Department of Education, so our K through 12 space, Department of Corrections, Department of Human Services, Economic and Community Development, and most importantly, our industry intermediaries. Last but not least, our local workforce boards and our American Job Centers. And so, again, can't say enough about partnerships. And when you build an apprenticeship program in Tennessee, the odds are we will connect you through partnerships. And so just want to, again, thank everybody in today's conference. Thank you panelists for sharing your experiences to talk about your challenges and your journey through an apprenticeship program. Thank you to the apprenticeship team for pulling this conference off. So Holly, Jessica, Charlene, Shalandria, Lynn, and Erica, thank you so much. Thank you to Assistant Commissioner Steve Plale for your entry-level comments. And if that, I'll just take a quick pause to see if there are any questions in the chat. And hearing no questions, again, thank you for your time. Your charge is to just get connected, explore the opportunities when it comes to apprenticeship programs, and we are here to serve you. So appreciate your time and have a wonderful afternoon.
Thank you, everyone.